So I want to talk about just one thing, get it out of the way.
Wow.
I'm not suggesting, I'll say for those who aren't watching and listening, I want to preface this because I think it's very important. I want to preface this because I think it's very important. All these trades that you're about to see, I didn't include draft pick because I wanted to talk to you about them first.
Okay.
And it's also hard to pinpoint. So right now what I have on my screen at this moment is the Knicks trading Rose and Quickly, and we'll talk about draft comp, for OG Anunoby. I've talked about Anunoby before. I don't think, first and foremost, that this is going to happen, especially mid-season. But I want to talk about the Raptors because I've like been saying offline for the last few weeks, I feel like they're going to blow it up at some point.
Zach,
I feel like
friends of the pods. Zach Lowe keeps dropping hints.
And I haven't even been listening to Zach saying it.
He's dropped several hits over the last few weeks.
And I think that's why originally when we were doing our bold predictions with Alex and Gavin, where it's like, this team is so much closer to a rebuild than they are to contention. And their players are going to cost a lot of money. And I'm really curious because this is the type of situation in which it's like, if I were to move Emmanuel Quickly, it's because I want the Knicks to get like actively better and not just, hey, we'll trade Quickly for a first, that's the sort of thing. And pick wise, it's the idea of like, is it the Mavs pick and a Bucks pick? Because if it's a year and a half of his contract, I'm thinking like Jeremy Grant type deal, right? Where like Jeremy Grant had the rare situation where he was traded into a player exception. There was a first round pick. It was that same Milwaukee pick going to Detroit. They also had a couple seconds go to them. And there was a pick swap of 36 for 46. So chew on that for a second, because I'm going to show something in a moment. But
OG is a better player than Jeremy Grant. And I say that, well, let me rephrase that. Going into this season, there was a very clear perception that OG was a better player than Jeremy Grant. This season, Jeremy Grant's played out of his mind. He's hitting like, I don't know if last I checked, he was still hitting like close to 50% of his threes. So maybe that has changed the calculus a little bit. But I think OG is a guy who there has consistently been a lot of intrigue about around the league. And like, he's going to get a lot of money, and his next contract is almost certainly going to be an overpay. Would you agree with that?
I think it'll be an overpay for a team that has cap space and is paying him. You know what I mean? Like if you're over the cap and you're paying him, it's better. It's palatable.
Yeah. If you're like, yes. It's not, it may not matter for the team that is overpaying him. Like it might be a Tobias Harris situation, although that contract has actually turned around and kind of, bitten Philly in the ass, but like that sort of a situation where it's going to clearly be a lot of money for what he is. The interesting thing about OG Anunoby is, and I'm just like, I'm trying to do a very, very, very quick scroll down the standings and trying to ask myself, who is the team now to try to make the big play for him that has the assets to make the big play for him? And like, you could tell me there's like some bad teams that are maybe willing to do that. Like, I don't know. Does Orlando want to like trade, what, like the Bulls pick or what, one of their own picks, one of the Bulls, something like that. Like those are like the unknowns, but just like looking up and down at the Grizzlies came up as a, but they both kind of, again, on Zach's recent pod, I think they both kind of, him and Vernon were talking about it. Verno's a Memphis guy. I think they both kind of brushed that off as not realistic. There isn't what? Sorry. No,
I would say the Mavs, but the thing is, if the Raptors in this case are trading off a lot of their pieces, I could see the Mavs instead going after someone like Siakam. Like that type of move, just like they'd want something larger when their pick conveys and they have access to all of their first round picks and they can do what they need to.
I guess there
aren't a lot of options.
Yeah, there aren't. And it's just tough because you talk about the value of this player, and baked into that value is whoever is trading for him knows that they are going to have to give him a gargantuan sum of money. And also, by the way, they're going to at least need to play, like do the dance in unrestricted free agency, which you never know how the hell that's going to go. So like, so it really is an interesting situation. Like, and it would not shock me if his name is at least bandied about between now and the deadline. I don't think if it's a package centered around quickly and like expiring money and Rose, I think Masai would do it for a Knicks pick. Happily.
I mean, you could just say the better of the two, honestly, of, this
in
year,
2025.
Well, I meant 2023, okay. And then, yeah.
Does that get it done? And then there's last thought is I wondered if it's a thing that's more likely to happen in the summer. There was a player on this roster who has some modicum of connection to the country of Canada.
It's very true. Money gets a little bit trickier, but
not in the summer. In the summer, then he makes
still
too
matching.
Much. Yeah.
It's still don't right.
Yeah,
but you can find a way around it.
You can find a way. Yeah,
for example. But here's why I don't think. And again, as someone who has talked about Anunoby as someone who wants him on the team, here's why I don't think it makes a ton of sense. Follow the money. Let's say you move quickly and Rose is out of the picture, and we're now looking at that 2024 offseason. Okay. So what you have, graphics decided to get all screwed up, but the numbers are the same, so it's great. You have a $19 million player option, really $20 million player option that OG Anunoby has, and he's going to opt out of that.
Yes,
which means that his cap hold is going to be $27.9 million, $30 million, or $28 million in this case.
Yes.
You've basically squeezed up all of your asset, like all of your cap space in that sense, right?
Because that's your thing.
Right. And so it's basically like, why did you move? There are two disparate thoughts going on here, right? On one hand, the Knicks are moving Emmanuel quickly, and we're talking about, well, the reason they're probably moving him is because they don't want to pay him. And the reason they don't want to pay him is, and what we're hypothesizing, because of that summer, right? That 2024 summer, that's the reason why, if they want to move him, they're doing it. You get OG Anunoby in here, and the problem is that his cap hold is taking up all the cap space. So theoretically, you don't have to trade Emmanuel quickly for cap reasons because you're already nuking your cap space situation by bringing Anunoby on board.
Yeah, but then you have Randall's salary, and if you don't send Barrett out in an Anunoby deal, Barrett's salary as well, to then package with all of your remaining picks that you don't send out in the Anunoby deal to then get your. Then it's really interesting because then you're just trading for the 1 star because you feel pretty confident that if you bring the right guy to a team with Anunoby, Brunson, and maybe one of Barrett or Randall, if one of them is still here, like that's a team that could do some damage.
I agree. And that then shifts over to why they could do it. Where if the hypothesis of like, well, the Knicks don't want to pay quickly and they want 2024 cap space, if that's all moot and you go to this one, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. You're over the cap. That's fine. You're then trying to trade for that other star. And what you're saying with Anunoby, and I don't disagree with the whole, like, well, what's the finances? He's going to get overpaid potentially. Yeah. And there's also the risk that he could walk, which, not great to hold the Knicks hostage. It's not really where they tend to like to operate. However, with that cap spike happening a year later, the Knicks could theoretically pay him a lot of money. And then as the cap keeps going up, it feels a lot less, relatively speaking.
This is funny. OG's with Clutch is the same age as Cam Reddish.
So that was something I had thought of as well, but didn't mention.
Trae Young.
Yes. But the reason I didn't mention is because the Knicks, the way they've been treating, Ham in this sense, I just don't necessarily see it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So that was that. Again, I don't think it'll necessarily happen with OG, but wouldn't be shocked at the same time. It would be a clunky fit.
You have some meetings about that dude. That's a guy. Yeah, I like him. Yep. Okay, what else we have here?
So next, let's stick with Cam. I'm done with IQ trades and Rose. If it happens with Rose, it happens. There's no need to move Derrick Rose. Cool. So if the Lakers are interested, yeah, they could just do a 1-for-1 swap of Kendrick Nunn and Cam Reddish. I'm sure the Knicks would ask for a 2nd-round pick back.
And we
doesn't sound like, yeah. Why don't you go ahead?
Well, we should say the Lakers own Chicago's 2023 2nd-round pick. Do the Knicks want a 2nd-round pick in this upcoming draft? They don't have one currently. I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. And they have their own second round pick. And depending on how the Lakers do.
The Lakers have their own second round pick. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's something to kind of consider. You want to trade Evan Fournier for Patrick Beverley? Well,
I have this in my newsletter tomorrow. It's the money works.
Well, not 1 for 1.
Sure, Patrick it does. Pat's 13, Evan's 18. It's within 5.
I know, but it's because the Lakers are a tax team for whatever reason that it says it doesn't.
Oh, they're a tax team.
I agree, though, because you'd think, all right, well, it's 13 million, 18 million. It's within the $5 million range, which is why when I saw this, that the deal failed, I was surprised. But
I forgot the Lakers. So then you throw in what Damian Jones makes it work, or
hypothetically Troy Brown Jr. in this case, and then it works.
Well, Troy Brown Jr. is actually playing minutes. For
he is. It was more salary than anything. He is playing well. That's the thing. The Lakers have some guys they could mix and match who are out of the rotation. Troy Brown Jr. has been doing a nice job. More just like was the salary I happened to throw in here, but this again goes to the whole salary thing. Do they want Patrick Beverley? They're right now trading someone who's out of the rotation for someone who would have to be in the rotation. There's not really room for Patrick Beverley in the rotation. I don't know if Tibbs is. Do you take Tibbs at his word when he says he wants a 9-man rotation?
I think he does.
Okay.
I think show me, don't tell me. I think he's shown you over the course of his career he likes a 9-man rotation. He's been angling to get a 9-man rotation with this team, and I think there's an argument that the reason he stuck with the 10-man rotation throughout his entire first season here and then most of the second season is because he felt like he just needed to play certain guys. Right. And now that his seat got a little warm, he's like, fuck this. I'm doing what I want to do. I don't think Patrick Beverley would play here. No, I really don't.
And now the Knicks could theoretically do exactly what the Timberwolves did, which is sign him to a 1-year extension or 1-year contract. I just don't think that they will.
Don't see it
in this case. And
by the way, do the Lakers want to jeopardize their caps? They are a team that could potentially want cap space this summer.
They could. I want to talk about that though, because it's okay. I've got a theory and I'm curious if the Lakers actually care about it or not.
Okay.
So, Lakers and Pistons deal, right? Get the Pistons as a third team where you get Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel back to New York, baby. And Bojan Bogdanovic, where there were not one, but 2 reports about the Lakers' interest in Bogdanovic today. And then Beverley and Fournier and none go to the Pistons. Well, can't happen. The Knicks cannot acquire Alec Burks or Nerlens Noel this season.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's real. At least for Alec Burks, it's a legitimate shame because he could help them. He could, but there's not really a role for him right now.
You know what? I was the biggest Alec Burks fan around. I don't need any more Alec Burks in my life as a fan.
And in this case, the Pistons would presumably be getting a 1st-round pick, whatever else might be going on, but it doesn't matter because this is not going to work. But one that could work. So it's Beverley and Nunn going to the Knicks, Bogdanovic going to the Lakers, Fournier and Cam Reddish going to the Pistons. Again, who knows what's going to happen, but it seems like the Lakers are certainly interested in Cam, but there was a report back at the draft that Cam Reddish's name had come up. That's what Ian Begley said, whether or not there was interest
with the Pistons.
He, Knicks and the Pistons have done work together. Cam is a buy low option for them, whatever it might be, but I don't necessarily see it.
I mean, they took a flyer on Kevin Knox. Hasn't really done much for them yet. Like, news came out today, as expected for a while. Cade's going to be out for the year. Season-ending surgery. So if there is, talk about a team that is 1,000% going to tankety tank this thing away. Give Cam Reddish 30 minutes a night. Sure.
Yeah. Certainly an option. It's just a matter of, do they want to pay Evan Fournier next year and pay Cam Reddish? Because if they're trading for him, then theoretically they want to keep him, like what they did with Bagley. It's actually a reason why Cam could potentially go there. If they did the Bagley move of let's just take the upside and move on, then maybe it is an option. I'll take it back.
And we're glossing over all of the nitty gritty with all of these, which is the picks. And it's like, I don't think any of these trades, with the exception of this one that we're looking at now with Bogdanovich going to the Lakers, there's no first round picks changing hands with any of these. Here, the Pistons would want the first from the Lakers, and they could quibble about, protections, but
right. Yeah. And in this case, the Knicks are getting $18.2 million in expiring money, which again, don't think that's really of interest to them.
I don't think so either.
Next, another one with the Lakers and Pistons. And it works, but similar situation. It's Rodney Magruder and Kendrick Nunn to the Knicks. It's Bogdanovich to the Lakers, and it's Beverly and Reddish to the Pistons. I think this has a lot more legs for the Lakers and the Pistons than it does for the Knicks. Again, the Lakers would be sending a first round pick here to the Pistons. I would imagine even in the last one and this one, the Knicks would like at least 1 to 2 second round picks. Pick your team in this case, but I still don't see it being a factor for the Knicks.
In all of these trades, you're figuring the Knicks end up with, like, again, a Lakers second round pick, whether it's theirs or the Bulls pick. And I on one hand, I'm like, is that what they're going to trade Cam Reddish for? And then on the other hand, I'm like, well, he's not in the rotation. His value can't go up. What are they waiting for? Like, just get what you can while you can get it. Although I guess at that point, what's the rush? Maybe you could wait until close to the deadline. You never know what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't really feel very strongly one way or the other.
Agreed. The other thing I'll say before I go to the next one is the Pistons have their second round pick this year, which will be between 31 and 33. Fair to say.
It will be very good.
The Lakers have the Bulls second round pick and their own. Curious if there's a way in this move where the Knicks try to get, the better of the two, or the one, or like the Bulls pick in this case, or is it the Bulls pick and the Lakers pick? I don't know. And they're going to want some sort of draft comp, but I don't know if they're going to want 2 second round picks in this year's draft.
I could see them valuing a high second round pick in this draft. Maybe as a way to grease the skids to move up a spot or 2 spots or something, in the trade. Yeah. I could see that. Sure.
Yeah. So those Lakers and the Pistons. Let's look at the Lakers and the Hornets.
So here we have
back to the Hornets.
Evan Fournier going to Charlotte along with Kendrick Nunn. The Lakers end up with Ryan Arcidiacono, who I think actually, I correct my answer from earlier in the podcast. I think Ryan Arcidiacono is untouchable. And the Lakers also end up with Cam Reddish. And the Knicks, oh my goodness gracious. The Knicks, the New York Knickerbockers, end up with Gordon Hayward and Jalen McDaniels.
Would this be a Jeremy Cohen cap or no cap without me trying to finagle a way to get Gordon Hayward to the Knicks for cap reasons?
Oh my God.
It wouldn't. This bit won't die. And it's not even that I want it to live. It just won't die. It just won't. So here's the thing. I don't see the Knicks trying to take on McDaniels because of the fact that he has to get paid, and he'll make a decent amount of money. And so it's like, if you're moving quickly because of the reason, if that is correct, where the Knicks want to move him and they don't want to pay him, similar with McDaniels, where I feel like they would want to then try to flip him on his own. There was a point made where I think it was in the post game where someone asked, or something was said where it was like, maybe the Knicks aren't making a trade because they're waiting for someone whose restriction is lifted on December 15th.
Yep.
Maybe it's also because Svi and Ryan cannot be traded until December 16th or December 17th.
Well, that's
math needs to work, and you can't get the math to work in this deal unless you include a minimum player. Because if you try it out on your own at home, folks, just sending Cam and Fournier out and getting Hayward and whatever back, because you need to move roster spots too, you're like $31,000 short.
I got to tell you.
Yes.
If the Knicks ended up with Gordon Hayward after all of the times that we've done slideshows and podcasts about getting this player to New York, who I just be very clear, I don't want Gordon Hayward.
I don't really want him either.
I don't think he's going to play basketball this year. And I do think there is something to be said for like the uncertainty of acquiring a player who has a $31.5 million. Is he 31.5 next year?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's more than $30 million attached to his name, fully guaranteed money, where you don't know, is he like, what is Gordon Hayward going? Like, it's just really tough to move forward where you have essentially a quarter of your cap, more, not quite, but close to a quarter of your cap, where you're just like, I don't know what I'm getting from that next year. And I don't know that any team would willingly take that on for as much as like, it's expiring after next year. So it's like, is it that onerous? But like, I'd be shocked if the Knicks, or quite frankly, any team, took that money on.
Let me ask you, it's like, all right, the Knicks don't need cap space in this scenario that we've drawn out, and they're looking to get out of a contract in 2024. And they've already got $18 million in Evan Fournier sitting on the bench, and they have $13 or so million in Derrick Rose sitting on the bench. So that's already $31 million of players who aren't seeing time.
I get that. But what's their incentive here to do this? They're not doing this for anything less than a first. And who's giving them the first? So we'll get, again, let's just look at this trade first. And it doesn't work, right? Yeah.
Agreed? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it works.
All right. Here's one that I think is more interesting, right? Well, actually, it's similar. It's now Gordon Hayward and Jalen McDaniels. You got Svi and Cam going to LA. Okay, and then it's Patrick Beverley and Evan Fournier going to the Hornets.
Okay.
Again, I don't think McDaniels works here. I just don't think the Knicks want to go through the process of paying him. But
I don't see it.
But John, there's one really important factor.
I can't wait for this. What?
3 words.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. What do you see when you look at this? Something stand out that was different from all the other things that we've done before?
I must be missing it.
Okay.
What is it?
So the Lakers save $7 million on this deal. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because the Lakers have been in the tax for the last 2 years.
Oh, repeater.
They are in the tax this year. If they go in the tax next year, then they get hit with really harsh penalties. And so,
which their coach has spoken about, by the way.
Right. So my theory, we'll see if it comes true or not. It's not that it's not that the Lakers want to have cap space. I think they're saying they're willing to have cap space as like a negotiation ploy.
Well, that's interesting.
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to duck the luxury tax. And here's the thing, because I plotted it out. If you do this type of move where the Lakers save $7 million on this, they're already at 18.5 right now over the luxury tax. They save $7 million. Their luxury tax bill is 11.5. They move Kendrick Nunn, and it's 6.5. And then all they need to do is move Russ for someone like I think there's even like, if there's a Pistons trade out there.
I don't. You had me until Russ. At this point, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think they're moving Russ.
But here's the difference. Russ is not continuous soup. They need to turn Russ into continuous. He's a good player. He's been killing it off the bench. It's nice to see, but it's the sort of thing where if the finances are really that practical, and if you keep trimming the payroll, you can dip below the luxury tax, and then you go back up next year and you avoid it.
I get it. I don't see. So you're angling towards the Lakers are the ones giving up the first tier.
What I'm suggesting is that in this situation, the Lakers send to the Hornets, 2 to 3 second round picks.
Okay.
The Knicks could send a second, and the Hornets send the Denver first. And basically the way it works is that the angle the Lakers give to the Hornets is like, we're basically giving you, it depends on the Bulls and how they do, but like, we're giving you a collection of second round picks that are probably going to be decent. And you're dealing with your whole salary issue that you have to fix anyway. You save $13 million or $13.5 million that you would have paid with Gordon Hayward sitting on the bench, unhappy in his role, doing that. And the Knicks contribute what they need to do. They're taking on more money this year. They're taking on a long-term commitment next year that's greater than they would have before. And that's how they're trying to work to get that asset. Like that is the play that you try to make. And if your whole thing is, we want to attach Cam Reddish to Evan Fournier to get a worse contract with a sweetener attached.
And what I take from this is the amount of gymnastics that we have to get to the point where the Knicks are getting a real thing for Cam Reddish attached to Evan Fournier. And I do admire the creativity, truly. And it does make sense logically if you really play it out. It leads me to believe that perhaps it is going to be more difficult to trade these players in a trade that makes sense for all parties involved than we might think it is.
Yeah, listen, again, I'm not saying this will happen. I'm just presenting scenarios based on I know the Lakers. I know the Lakers want to save money. It seems like the Hornets are in a situation where they want to get out from Gordon Hayward's contract to the extent where they give up a first. No, but if they're getting something back of value, maybe it's like, well, it probably isn't a distant Knicks pick. Like, is it the Bucks pick and the Knicks are trading the Hornets, they're acquiring the Nuggets pick from the Hornets? I don't know, but I just think there's a framework here that can at least work. I'm not saying it will, saying that it could. Brings you to, all right, instead of McDaniels, because he's valuable to them, you get a bench player like JT Thor. It makes the money work. You get all that. So, I
love it. No, I love it. It's again, the creativity is always off the charts. And again, it's rooted in truth as opposed to.
If it doesn't happen, I can live with it because there's so many different possibilities, but at least I can go to bed knowing that I at least acted within some sort of realm of possibility with wants and needs with these teams. And I'm fine with that.
Final prediction before we give out a brief game ball section and give out some detentions, although I don't know if we're actually going to be giving out any detentions this week. And of course, do our predictions. How can we forget about that? If you had to bet on one of the following three options, which would you bet on? Cam Reddish is a Knick after the trade deadline, Cam Reddish is a Laker after the trade deadline, or Cam Reddish is on a different team other than the Lakers and Knicks after the trade deadline. Even same odds for all of them. What are you betting on?
Still going to say the Lakers.
I am too.
And here's the interesting thing. If he goes to the Lakers, there's no reason for them to try to get cap space, right? Because of his cap hold, because of his next contract. Even if he signs for $8 million a year, that's $8 million less than they would have to spend, which is why I think if they go after Cam, they want to go over the cap. They don't want to go under the cap. And I think that has tax implications.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's not crazy at all. But I agree.
Lakers?
I think he's going to be on the Lakers. Okay. Well, that was good. It's good. Listen, this is the peak inside, right? Of like all of the things that these front offices are dealing with, because it's like, it seems so easy to make these fake trades. It's not easy. There's always considerations. And yes, the tax thing with not the Beverly for Fournier not working, that caught me off guard. So good job by you.
You're welcome.
Game balls. Who gets to give out the first game ball, Jeremy?
It would be you, John.
It would be me. Okay. So as Andrew always likes us to do, I'm going to read off our list of candidates: Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, and Tom Thibodeau. It would be so leaning into the bit for me to choose Tom Thibodeau over Julius Randle. Team was 3-0 this week. Best defensive rating in the sport by far. They're playing hard for him. It's gritty. It's 90s Knicks, reminiscent of the whole thing. I'm not going to do it. I'm also not giving it to Julius Randle. And I'm sorry, Julius, you were a contender for Eastern Conference Player of the Week, as I predicted you would be after the Kings game. But can't get thrown out of that game there. It's just like, I'm not trying to read into it any more than it needs to be read into, but just on its face, you just can't do it. And I admire Tibbs after the game for being like, yeah, that's on us. We got to go get him there. Like, think about that. Like, he's a grown ass man, you know, like you're talking about like, oh, we need to go get him there. What does that say? So he's not getting it either. I'm giving it to Deuce, and I'm giving it to Deuce, who Jeremy Cohen, do you know amongst all qualifying players who show up on Cleaning the Glasses leaderboard, you got to play 100 minutes to do that. Where Deuce McBride ranks in terms of points per shot attempt?
Where's he rank?
Ranks dead last. There's no player in the NBA who is a less efficient shooter right now who's played at least 100 minutes than Deuce McBride. he still gets my player of the week. He has completely and totally changed, as far as I'm concerned, the mentality of this team, the approach of this team. And I'd love to be able to sit here and be like, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Mitchell Robinson's back, the whole thing. These are guys who have been there throughout the year. And that's why that's been kind of my, the other reason I'm not giving it to Tibbs is I do think the folks who are like screaming and yelling, like we've been saying this for a fucking year and it took you this long to do it, I think there was some validity there. At the same time, looking at what has been done differently, the only thing that's really been done differently is just Deuce, right? Because like he's always wanted to play Grimes. He's always pretty much played Quickley this many minutes, maybe not quite as many, but more or less, you know. There's nobody else unless there's somebody else that I'm forgetting. It's Deuce. It's Deuce. He has an effect. He has an impact on the game. It's just, and I do think, Stacey Patton on Twitter brought it up that it's been going around, and I'm not sure if he invented this or somebody else invented this. I brought it up after the post game. I'll bring it up again now. I have to think that when you have a guy out there like that, given it that amount of effort, it does lift up those around him. You know, it makes it really hard for a Julius Randle to like, was it you that brought this up?
I brought it up like 2 to 3 podcasts ago. I said, if you get someone in there who's really good defensively,
oh, then I'll give you the credit.
Then you get Julius to get the opportunity. See? You weren't in favor of it. You're like, no, Julius is not going to do anything. It's not going to happen.
And I didn't buy it. And now I
get it. Yeah.
And that's because that's part of why I'm giving Deuce my game ball. He has proven me wrong. He's proven a lot of people wrong. I would still not like him to not be the worst shooter in the league. But even so, he deserves this as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. My whole thing with Deuce is like, he's not real until he is. Like he's in the sense of he wasn't playing. I liked the idea of him. I wanted him to play because you spent a high second round pick on him, even if you split 1 into 2 and got Jakobitis. And he's playing well. And as you're saying, the impact is phenomenal, especially on the defensive end. And I think that's really important. Yep. But I am going to go Julius Randle because I understand the temperament issues that occurred that led to him being ejected. But I just, as someone who's just played sports before, there are times where you get too into it. You get very invested in what you're doing, and you just want to get explanations. You want answers. Maybe they don't come. Maybe you're too aggressive. It happens. I think he's just an incredibly passionate person. I just don't think he can sometimes reel himself in as much as maybe others can on the floor. But I do agree. There should have been other players that should have held him back. I'm not saying that they are the reason why he was ejected. No, I'm just saying that it's important that if you're going to show camaraderie, if you're going to show teamwork, rein him in, push him away. Doesn't matter. Whatever, dude. We got it. Don't worry. You said your piece. You got the tech. It's all good. We'll get him next time. Like whatever it is. He was so dominant this week.
Yeah, he was
an Eastern Conference Player of the Week honorable mention.
Contender. Like,
yeah. Like that's important. Like, again, like it's fine if you want to give it to Deuce in that sense.
No, I mean,
I feel like the goalposts move a little bit more. Like he's doing exactly what we're asking him on the floor, and he has an outburst with a ref, and it's like he doesn't invalidate it. It just doesn't make him as validated as I think he should be.
He deserves the game ball. I knew you were going to give it to him, and I'm being a little cute by giving it to Deuce over him. But I do think there's validity just from this perspective. Like this team was dead in the water and then something changed and now they're not. And I understand that Deuce should not get all of the credit for that. 100%. He should not get all the credit for that. And Julius Randle was the most important player on the team this week. There's no question about that either. But Julius Randle's getting his flowers from everywhere. I want to give Deuce his flowers here. All right. Detention. Here are the candidates. Nobody. Seriously, nobody. This is what Andrew wrote down. Or the officials, because they called a terrible game against Sacramento. Or actually nobody. I don't know, Jeremy. Are we jointly putting no one into detention this week?
John, could you remind me what the Knicks record was this week by chance?
They were 3-0.
Oh, I'm sorry. You had mentioned something on the post game last night about like things are going well and like we should be happy or something. What was it? You remember?
Something along those lines. I don't really remember.
I'm gonna heed your advice and I'm gonna go with nobody because I'm happy. This is a good week. You don't get a whole lot of weeks like this in the NBA, especially if you're a team on the come up. So take it. Nobody.
Detention is empty for this week. On to predictions presented by our good friends at WinBet. As a reminder, as we do every pregame, every postgame, download the WinBet app or visit www.winbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. Hope everybody out there has been betting on the Knicks. If you have, you've been a very happy camper. I finally did it. I got off the schneid. I knew it would happen eventually. I'm happy it happened before like March. I'll give myself a little pat on the back and that like took a little bit of boldness, I think, to take 3-0. Would you not agree?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, and look, the Knicks, they back me up. I had some faith in this team and it was paid off. So that was nice. Which moves me to 1-6 in predictions. So I have some catching up to do. You are, of course, 6-1, but I go first and hopefully I could keep the baton and not give it back anytime soon. I do think this is a tricky week. It's a 3-game week. So we have back-to-back games at Chicago. Those are on, Wednesday and Friday, and then Sunday at Indiana, who did end up losing a tough game to the Miami Heat earlier tonight, although it seemed like they played well, even though they didn't score many points. Don't know what the status is with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson could not play in any of these games. If I knew sitting here right now that Jalen Brunson was not going to play in any of these games, I would probably have a different pick than the one I'm going to make. But tough to sweep back-to-back against the same team. And then it comes down to Knicks going into Indiana. Tough game. I don't have it in me to pick 1 and 2. So I'm going to give that to you. And I'm going to take 2 and 1.
Okay. I was going to take 2 and 1. So
there you go.
I'll take 1 and 2.
Okay. I hope I win.
I don't hope you do, but we'll see. You're on the board. It's competitive now. It feels like a game and not just an embarrassment in the sense of me just wiping the floor with you. I don't want that. I want it to be close. I want to feel the rush. Like that 82nd game of the season was so much fun.
It was, yeah, no. I need to run with this one for a while. There's a lot of pressure on me this week. I will say this: the nice thing, even if you win, the Knicks are 500 after 30 games, which and it's going to be so funny because if they lose 2 of the next 3 games, probably even if Brunson's out, I could see there being like all kinds of consternation once again. But we don't have to talk about that right now. We'll save that conversation for another day, or maybe we won't. In the meantime, on behalf of Andrew Claudio, who, as always, produced this episode, on behalf of you, Jeremy Cohen, anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I just don't see a trade on December 15th, but we'll see if there's one on the 16th or 17th. It'll be fascinating. And until then, I just hope players get healthy because it's tough. It's definitely tough. Not easy with a short rotation, especially by choice.
Jalen Brunson, I hope you're okay. That's it. Thanks everybody for listening. We will be back with we didn't say that announcement.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We've been talking for 2 hours.
And we didn't say it. Yes.
Go for it, Jeremy.
On Tuesday, tomorrow, Andrew's going to kill me with the time. I think we said 7:30. I'm going to check
at a text. Time that you can see by following the Knicks Twitter account at Knicks Film School SKOOL, or by just logging on and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Again, Knicks Film School on YouTube. It's going to be a time tomorrow night when Jeremy will be going live.
Yep. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, December 13th. I'll be doing an episode of Cream. Capitals everything around me. Excited to do it. Should be fun. And we'll do a little thing before the 15th, and then we'll see what happens after that.
I want all Gordon Hayward questions.
Why do you love Gordon Hayward? Believe me, I don't. Why do you hate Gordon Hayward?
If they trade for this fucking guy, I'm going to... I don't know what I'm gonna do. All right. Now we can get out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We will talk to you soon. Peace out.